They expect you to break, to reach out, to beg, but you won't. They think you'll chase, that you can't live without them, that you'll fall into their trap, but you won't. Instead, you disappear. No calls, no texts, no explanations, just absolute silence. And that's when the real game begins. Because silence is the one thing they can't handle. It forces them to face themselves, to question everything, and soon they start to wonder, did they make a mistake? Have they lost you forever? No contact isn't just ignoring them. It's a psychological strategy, a power move. The moment you stop reacting, they start losing control. Today, I'll break down exactly why it works, the psychological triggers behind it, and how you can use it to turn the tables. So if you're ready to master the art of silence, take back control, and make them regret ever doubting you, then hit that subscribe button, like this video, and let's begin. The psychology of silence. Why do people hate silence? Why does it feel so unsettling when someone suddenly stops responding? The answer isn't just about communication. It's about how the human brain is wired. You see, the brain craves validation. It constantly seeks feedback, recognition, and confirmation from the outside world. Every conversation, every text, every interaction reassures us that we still hold value in someone else's mind. But when that response never comes, when the conversation abruptly stops, the brain panics. It starts searching for answers, obsessing over what went wrong. This is where the Zeigarnik effect comes into play. It's a psychological phenomenon that explains why unfinished business lingers in our minds longer than completed tasks. The human brain despises open loops. It fixates on the unresolved, obsessing over things that lack closure. Think about the last time you watched a movie that ended on a cliffhanger. You kept thinking about it, trying to predict what happens next. Your brain wants resolution, but it doesn't get one. And that frustration, that sense of incompleteness, it lingers. Now, apply that same effect to human relationships. When someone suddenly goes silent, their absence creates a mental cliffhanger. Their mind can't move on. It keeps replaying the last conversation, looking for clues, trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. This is why no contact isn't just ignoring someone. It's a psychological strategy. It forces the other person into a state of mental limbo. And the more time passes without an answer, the stronger the obsession becomes. At first, they might feel in control. They might think ignoring you was their decision. But as days turn into weeks, the silence starts to work against them. Because when we don't hear from someone, we assume the worst. We assume they're doing better without us. We assume they've moved on to something, someone greater. And that's the worst kind of punishment, not knowing, wondering, feeling powerless. They might act unaffected. They might post pictures, go out and pretend they don't care. But inside, they're questioning everything. Did they really lose you? Was it their fault? Have they made a mistake? And when the silence stretches long enough, something happens. They stop feeling in control, and they start craving answers. But here's the real question. Why does this silence drive them crazy? What is it about losing control that makes them so desperate for a reaction? In the next section, we'll break down exactly why no contact is the one thing they can't handle, and why it makes them hate you for walking away. Let the silence consume them. Imagine two men in the exact same situation. Both have just been left by someone they deeply cared about, but their reactions completely different. The first man can't accept it. He panics. He sends text after text, long messages pouring out his feelings, apologizing, begging for another chance. When he doesn't get a response, he calls. When that fails, he checks her social media, desperately looking for clues. He posts indirect messages, hoping she sees them. He stalks her online presence, waiting for a sign that she still cares. But what happens next? She doesn't feel sympathy. She doesn't reconsider. No, she loses respect for him. Because nothing is less attractive than desperation. The more he chases, the further she pulls away. Now, let's look at the second man. He feels the same pain, the same heartbreak, but instead of reacting emotionally, he chooses silence. No texts, no calls, no late-night scrolling through her social media. Instead, he vanishes. He redirects his energy toward himself. He hits the gym. He focuses on his work. He disappears completely. And now, the tables turn. Because at first, she thinks he'll reach out. She expects him to react the way every other man has. But days pass, then weeks, and nothing. Suddenly, the certainty she had begins to crack. She starts to wonder, why isn't he texting? Has he moved on? Did he ever really care? You see, human nature is predictable. When someone disappears, our minds naturally fill in the blanks. And what's scarier than an unanswered question? The unknown. And here's where the real shift happens. She starts checking his social media. She starts replaying conversations in her head. She wonders if she made a mistake. And just like that, the dynamic flips. This is the power of no contact. It's not passive, it's strategic. It's a psychological move that shifts control back into your hands. But why does this happen? Why does pulling away trigger such a strong response? In the next section, we'll break down exactly why they start to hate when you go silent and why it forces them to rethink everything. The silence is working. At first, they don't notice. They assume you'll be back, that you'll crack under the pressure. But as time passes, something shifts. What started as confidence turns into doubt. What was once certainty turns into confusion. And then, the resentment begins. There are 3 reasons why silence gets under their skin. 3 reasons why they start to hate when you go no contact. 1. They lose control. The moment you go silent, they lose the ability to control the narrative. They can no longer influence you with their words, their emotions, their presence, and that terrifies them. You see, when someone knows they can get a reaction out of you, they feel powerful. They can push your buttons, trigger you, and keep you emotionally tied to them. But when you remove yourself from that equation, when you refuse to engage, they're left powerless. This loss of control forces them into a position they're not used to, being on the receiving end of uncertainty. And uncertainty breeds anxiety. They start to wonder, why isn't he reacting? Why isn't he trying to win me back? Has he moved on without me? And that's when the discomfort turns into frustration, because now you're the one calling the shots. But let's talk about what happens if you break no contact too soon. The moment you reach out, all of their uncertainty disappears. They no longer wonder if you've moved on. They no longer question if they made a mistake. Instead, they feel reassured that they still have control. And once they regain control, the cycle starts again. The push and pull, the manipulation, the emotional roller coaster that leaves you drained and powerless. You see, no contact isn't just about getting them back. It's about shifting the power dynamic permanently. The moment you break it, you lose all the leverage you've built. So the real question isn't, should I reach out? The real question is, do I want to go back to being powerless? 2. They feel abandoned. No one likes to feel disposable. No one wants to believe they can be replaced. When you were constantly available, constantly responding, they had no reason to question their importance in your life. But the moment you disappear, they feel it. At first, they might pretend not to care. They'll act indifferent, post pictures and go out with friends, making it seem like they've moved on effortlessly. But late at night, when everything is quiet, that's when it hits them. They wonder why you haven't reached out. They start checking their phone more often, waiting for that notification that never comes. And with each passing day, that absence grows louder. Because when someone is removed from your life abruptly, it forces you to reevaluate their worth. And for the first time, they're experiencing what you felt when they walked away. The realization is painful. Maybe they weren't as important to you as they thought. Maybe they made a mistake. 3. They fear you found someone better. This is the deepest cut, the most unsettling thought, because if you're not reacting, if you're not chasing, if you're not reaching out, then who are you giving your attention to? The idea that you might be doing better without them, that you might have moved on, that thought alone is enough to drive them mad. Because now, they're imagining it. They're picturing you with someone else, someone more attractive, more successful, more aligned with who you've become. And the worst part, they have no way of knowing, no way to confirm or deny it, because you've gone completely silent. That's the real punishment of no contact. It leaves them alone with their thoughts, their doubts, their regrets. And the mind is its own worst enemy. Let me tell you a real story about a guy who mastered no contact and completely flipped the script. He was in a long-term relationship, deeply invested. When she left, he did everything wrong, begging, texting, over-explaining. And just like that, she lost all respect for him. She pulled further away. But then something changed. He cut off all contact, deleted her number, stopped watching her stories, focused on himself. At first, she didn't notice, but then days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and suddenly she was the one reaching out, the one checking his social media, the one trying to accidentally run into him. By the time she realized what she lost, he had already moved on, and that's the power of no contact. So ask yourself, do you want to be the man who begs for attention, or the man who disappears and lets them feel the loss? The regret begins. Silent power. How to maintain no contact the right way. No contact isn't just about cutting off communication. It's not about waiting for them to notice your absence. And it's definitely not about playing mind games. No contact is about one thing: power. Because the real purpose of no contact isn't to make them miss you, it's to make you unrecognizable when they finally do. But here's the problem. Most people fail at no contact because they don't understand how to do it correctly. They make crucial mistakes that sabotage the entire strategy. So before we dive into the right way to do it, let's talk about what not to do. Mistakes that will ruin no contact. If you want no contact to work, you need to avoid these 3 mistakes at all costs. Mistake number 1: stalking their social media. You might think checking their Instagram, watching their stories, or seeing if they've unfollowed you is harmless. But every time you do, you're keeping yourself emotionally attached to them. And the worst part, they know. Even if you don't interact, social media algorithms show them when you lurk, and the moment they see you're still watching, they win. Mistake number 2: responding when they reach out. This is where most people break. After days or weeks of silence, they finally text you. It might be something small. "Hey, how have you been?" Or even worse, something vague like, "Hope you're doing okay." And you think, maybe this is my chance. Maybe they're ready to fix things. It's just a test. They want to see if they still have access to you. If you respond even casually, you reset the game. They'll feel reassured that you're still waiting, and they'll pull away again. Mistake number 3: trying to make them jealous. Posting thirst traps, pretending to be out with someone new, or accidentally making sure they see you having fun. That's not no contact. That's desperation in disguise. Real power isn't in showing them you're better off. It's in making them wonder. How to do no contact the right way. So now that we know what not to do, let's talk about how to execute no contact like a master. Rule number 1: focus on your growth. No contact isn't about waiting, it's about transformation. You don't just cut them off, you rebuild yourself. Hit the gym, read books, work on your mindset. Because when they eventually check up on you, and trust me, they will, you want them to see a version of you they never expected. Most people think no contact is just waiting, sitting in silence, hoping the other person notices your absence, but that's a mistake. No contact is an opportunity, a chance to reinvent yourself into someone they will never recognize. And the best way to do that, focus on building an unshakable version of yourself. Physical transformation. Hit the gym, improve your style, and present yourself as the best version of yourself. Not for them, but for you. Mental growth. Read books, develop emotional intelligence, master self-control. Become the kind of person who never chases, but attracts. Financial and career focus. Shift your energy towards making more money, improving your career, and becoming someone who has options, not just in relationships, but in life. Because here's the secret. By the time they realize what they lost, you won't even want them back. Rule number 2: stop caring about what they think. They'll wonder why you haven't reached out. They might even assume you're hurting. But here's the truth: it doesn't matter. What they think, feel, or assume is no longer your concern. The more you detach from their validation, the stronger your position becomes. Rule number 3, disappear completely. Real no contact means vanishing, not temporarily, not just to get a reaction, but because you've mentally moved on. No likes, no story views, no cryptic posts meant for them to see, just pure, unshakable silence. But here's the thing, no contact isn't just about making them wonder. It's about making them feel your absence in a way they never expected. And that's exactly what we'll dive into next. Because when the silence stretches long enough, something happens. They start to regret everything. The shift begins. Conclusion. By now, you understand the power of silence. You see why no contact isn't just a strategy. It's a transformation, a shift in mindset, a declaration that you refuse to be controlled by emotions, by impulses, by someone who thought they could take you for granted. Now, you have a choice. You can continue chasing, continue justifying, continue clinging to someone who never truly valued you. Or you can walk away in complete silence and become the kind of person they will never forget. Because here's the truth. The moment you stop chasing is the moment they start noticing. The moment you disappear is the moment they start questioning. And the moment they realize you're no longer an option is the moment they start regretting. This is the power of detachment. This is the power of walking away without a word. The path forward. But no contact is just the beginning. This isn't just about one person. It's about the mindset that makes you untouchable. It's about mastering control, not just over others, but over yourself. So if you're serious about reclaiming your power, about building a mindset so strong that no one can shake you, then you need to keep going. Because silence is just one tool. There's an entire arsenal of psychological strategies that can shift the dynamic forever. And once you learn them, the game will never be the same. If you found value in this video, if you're ready to step into your full power, hit that subscribe button now. Turn on notifications, because in the next video, I'm going to show you how to use dark psychology to flip the script completely and make them chase you instead. And if you're ready to start your transformation today, drop a B in the comments below. Let's build an unstoppable mindset together. Your silence is your power. Use it wisely.